Thank you for staying tuned. And just before we launch onto the commodities market, total confirmed cases of coronavirus in Nigeria has risen to 51, with Lagos and the Federal Capital Territory each recording 2 new cases. Well, Rivers State now has its first case. Of the 51 cases, Lagos now has 32, FCT 10, Ogun State 3, while Ekiti, Oyo, Edo, Bauchi, Osho and Rivers each has 1 case. Information from the National Center for Disease Control as at 11:25 p.m. on March the 25th says that 3 of the latest 5 cases are travelers returning into Nigeria, while 2 are close contacts of a confirmed case. And for commodities market update, now I'm being joined by Nosike Nwajide, one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you for joining us, Nosike. Right, on your listed burning economic issues, we have there fact for February 2020 down 9.9% to 581.6 billion naira. Brent slips 0.58% to $23 per barrel, down 46% in March. CBN PMI falls 51.1% in March from 58.3 in February. Airlines suspend all flight operations. Panic buying continues across Lagos as non-food markets are shut. Global wheat prices rise amid pasta and flour stockpiling. But what caught my interest here the most is the kind of panic buying, seen across Lagos in particular yesterday. How much can people really stock up?
Obviously, there was the announcement that markets will be shut today. Non-food markets will be shut down. People are not taking any chances. I mean, even the market sellers, so to speak, are, everyone is worried about the spread of the coronavirus. It's self-isolation and all of that. I mean, but people have to, at the end of the day, because a lot of people, they live day by day. Money they make in the market, that's what they survive by. So, shutting down the market, it's difficult for these sellers to stay at home.
Now, that brings to question the purchasing power of the consumers.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it was towards the end of the month. Some people had been paid, some people had not been saved. So you would dig into your savings, and then, well, how much savings you actually have? How much can you actually stockpile, so to speak? And God knows how long this lockdown is going to last for. So even if you bought, say, 3 weeks worth of what you consume, in another 3 weeks, would the markets be opened? We don't know for sure. There's a lot of uncertainty. So this has driven panic buying. And in the coming weeks, I mean, given that the market lockdown has started today, we'll probably see a slowdown in demand for some of these things, because some people have stockpiled and they won't be demanding anything for some time. So prices that have risen in the last couple of weeks, we'll see that taper down a bit.
Now, you noted also that global wheat prices rose amid pasta and flour stockpiling. Why would pasta and flour be consumers' choice at this time to stockpile?
Pasta is something pasta, noodles are things you can stockpile in cartons and keep. And, just keep, you can't live by rice or beans alone. So, this is globally now. So in some areas of the world, they're not really big on rice or beans. So pasta is something that is a bit more global than all the other commodities. So it's been stockpiled in parts of Europe where the lockdown is even getting intense. As more and more countries are going on lockdown, people are buying these things, stockpiling these things. They don't know how long it's going to last for. And wheat is a major ingredient in pasta and noodles and all whatnot. So this has driven the demand for wheat, and it will continue to drive it in the coming weeks.
All right. Now, you were saying that the fall in the PMI means that recession is inevitable. Have we lost hope here?
I wouldn't say, I don't want to be that dramatic saying we've lost hope, but all the indicators point to a global recession, and even the domestic recession like we had in 2016, where fall in oil prices, a slight devaluation of the currency, a drop in revenues. You saw FAC falling by about 10%. That means the allocation to states will fall as well. Aggregate demand will fall. So right now, it's not just the drop in oil prices, the COVID pandemic. People are not coming out of their homes. So demand is going to drop. Even supply, output is going to drop. So we know that Q1 will probably have negative GDP growth. Output is going to contract. That plunge in PMI is drastic, and that's just for like the first half of March, if you will. As we enter April, as oil prices are falling, the average oil price is 55 in February, down to 36 in March. So the revenues will fall even further, and we expect aggregate demand to drop even further than it already has.
Now, with FARC down to its lowest level, what would that mean for the commodities market?
Well, for domestic commodities, it means people would will buy less in the coming weeks. Aggregate demand fall, or the government's earning less money means aggregate demand fall. The aggregate demand falls. It also means that supply is likely to fall in response to that. So prices may not just drop the way it ordinarily would. I mean, if supply drops, it means that demand and supply would balance themselves out. We see prices stay relatively the same in the next coming
All
months.
right. Looking at the goodies that you have there, at least, according to your slide, is that domestic commodities prices have flattened out. Can you take us through the price movement and their major drivers?
Okay, there are the major drivers. Panic buying. Obviously, seasonality is one thing, like the price of yam, typically at this time of the year, as we approach the harvest season where new yam comes out, August, this planting season is early in the year, the price rises. But typically, it's not just the price, it's not just seasonality this time, there's also panic buying. For tomatoes, prices have risen about 50% in the past two weeks. Obviously, that's panic buying, but that would taper out in the next coming weeks where demand will fall. So tomatoes, pepper, yam, even sugar prices. In the past, we had the border closures last year where we stopped importing sugar. So domestic sugar production, it hasn't risen to meet domestic sugar consumption. And obviously, even with panic buying, so most prices have gone up, apart from, say, semovita and palm oil that have been stable in the past couple of weeks, and we expect them to remain stable.
Now, you're talking about border closure. Of course, we now have airlines suspending domestic flights and all that. How will that impact this space?
That is pretty much as a result of, one is the COVID crisis. The major thing is COVID crisis. It makes a lot of sense from a business perspective where demand for travel has fallen, and obviously from a healthcare perspective where you don't want a lot of people in that little enclosure where we talk about social distancing, where you should give someone 1.5 meters. I don't think in an airplane you can give that many. People don't have room to give themselves social distancing. So it makes sense that at this point you sort of incurring the cost. It makes sense that since demand has fallen, you just shut down operations and see how things pan out in the next couple of weeks.
And what do you make of the fiscal stimulus package being announced? We've seen the bill passed by the House of Reps and, of course, the plan that the finance minister is trying to put up.
Yeah, I think governance is a social contract. I mean, our taxes over the years, it's time we reap some benefits from these taxes. They want to, have import waivers for importing healthcare equipment. That makes sense given the times that we are. They want to have tax rebates for companies who can, keep, not lay off staff, given that there's a huge drop in demand. So a lot of companies will lay off staff. So only tax rebates for companies that can, keep their workers to the end of the year, basically. I think it makes a lot of sense given the peculiar situation and circumstances that we face.
All right, in this whole thing, what's your short to medium-term outlook for domestic commodities market? Of course, the global commodities market.
The global commodities space, a commodity like sugar, for instance. Sugar is actually, it's an ingredient in making hand sanitizers at this point. So we expect prices to rise as there's a fall in the price of crude oil. And sugar was one of the major ingredients in making a substitute, which is bioethanol, a biofuel called ethanol. So because of the fall in the price of crude oil, I mean, it makes little sense now to invest in making that, in making ethanol. So a lot of sugar is being diverted to making hand sanitizers that demand is rising. So expect the price of sugar to rise in the coming months up to the end of the year.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Nosike.
Always my pleasure.
Nosike Nwajide is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company.